Let's go ahead and get started. We are doing a tech live stream. So this is my first one here. We're going to give it a try, see what kind of issues we run into. But I want to do some kind of live tech news, talk about some stuff. So if you do have any questions or anything that you want to, please go ahead and drop that in the chat here, and I'll see if we can kind of get a conversation going. Today, we're going to talk about some stuff with Apple. So we're going to talk about the new update here. So iOS update 26.2 from Apple, and whether you should update pretty much immediately. Is that something you need to do basically tonight? We're going to talk about CES 2026, not the whole event. We're just going to talk about the LG home robot and whether we think it's going to be kind of useful, if it's just going to be a gimmick. I also want to touch on Windows Copilot. They have a new text editing help for Windows insiders that you have to be basically a special group of, but they got some pretty cool updates for that. And then OpenAI preparedness. Really what I want to do here is just kind of talk about AI and what we think we need to do to be safe with it, and how it's really going to impact a lot of different things, and how it's already impacted me and how I look at things. And I pretty much always question, is this real or is this AI? So let's go ahead and jump in here. So let's talk first about Apple's update here. So this is the 26.2 update, and it fixed some really big bugs that basically were targeted attacks that allowed pretty much people to take over the phone. Now, as I understand it, this attack allowed the I guess the hackers or whoever was targeting this attack to actually take over the phone of the user, which is pretty scary because when you think about it, really the everything's two-factor authentication, right? So if somebody can take over your phone, then pretty much they have access to everything, because everything's going to get sent to that phone for text messages or emails for you to, do that two-factor authentication. So that's set up for lots of banking, social media. Pretty much everything is set that up now. So if people were able to get the phone and pretty much take it over, then they can pretty much do anything they want with that user's identity and their information. So definitely a big update that you do, I believe, want to get installed as quickly as possible. So that's something that you should be aware of. Now, as far as updates go, they also did some other stuff. So it wasn't just the bug fix for that. They did some updates with a lot of things. The kind of interface, it's got this glass look to it, which I thought was pretty cool. Some new updates on what you can do for contact information. You can add some cool things for that. So I updated all of my personal family contact information. So for my wife and my daughter and things like that, you can add some cool stuff. So when they call, they get a little individualized photo and things. And then podcasts got an update as well. So if you like podcasts, it sounds like, and I haven't used this feature, but one of the updates was when you're listening to a podcast and they mention another podcast, you'll be able to find that a lot faster and easier. So that's pretty cool and seamless. If you do like recommendations of podcasts, it's going to be easier. That's one of the main problems that I have with Apple Podcasts right now, is searchability and finding things to watch and listen to. And so I think that should help with that, and hopefully that continues to get better and better, that we're able to really find things a lot easier. So I'm excited for that. Now, let's go ahead and continue on here. So hi, Draw67. Thanks for joining me. If you've got anything to contribute here, hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking. Talking a little bit of tech news here. So going back to that update, again, it was a really targeted attack as far as Apple was saying, so don't think most of us should be worried. However, it sounds like it's a pretty big vulnerability, something that we want to get updated and installed as soon as possible. So you want to just get that update going. You can also set up your phone for automatic updates. I do have mine set up for that. So when I am plugged in and connected to Wi-Fi, when those updates come, they will automatically install. So that's going to help with peace of mind. So you do want to make sure that if you are are doing anything on your phone, especially if you're using your phone for work, banking, you've got your important accounts connected. If you're higher risk, so if you've got a public-facing job, journalist, or sensitive work, you just want to make sure that you do install these updates as quickly as possible. Now, if you can't get to it, just kind of don't be using your phone that much right now. So kind of be really picky with what you're doing on your phone. Don't be getting on social media and a lot of different things, clicking on different sites and links and things like that. Pop-ups and other things, of course, sketchy emails and text messages as well. So don't be clicking on links right now. If you've got your iPhone and you have not updated to the 26.2 security update, do as little as you possibly can until you can get that updated. So looking back here, there's been a ton of different, security breaches with Apple over the years. And I'm not picking on Apple. This has happened with tons of different platforms, but specifically we're talking about Apple today. So going back to 2024, there was the go-to-fail bug. It weakened secure connections on some iOS versions. And then, of course, in 2014, we had the iCloud celebrity photo leak. Now, that wasn't really a vulnerability in the security of Apple as far as something that they did, right? It wasn't like somebody was hacking into those accounts and getting those photos from celebrities. What happened was it was really sophisticated phishing. So they contacted or did some emails or text messages to those specific people and then were able to get into those accounts. But that's what really cemented the two-factor authentication from Apple, because before that, they weren't doing that, and that was another way that those what do you call them? Social engineers were able to get access to those accounts, and that was by just getting that information directly from the person. And really, that's how a lot of these things happen. When it comes to hackers, that's not really, I think they're few and far between people that are really sophisticated and able to use code and computers to break into your device and use it. What usually ends up happening is they trick you by making you believe something, by sending you some emails or text messages or phone calls, and then basically get you to give them your password information or to get you to download something that allows them to gain access to that information. So it's less about somebody being really smart and breaking into your stuff and more about people just making mistakes and accidentally giving up their information, which ends up leading them to getting hacked and people getting their information. So that was in 2014. Then 2016, there was the Pegasus era. It was high-end spyware targeting specific people. In 2019, there was a FaceTime bug where when people FaceTimed you, they could actually hear what was going on even before you answered. So that was kind of a big mistake on FaceTime end. And then 2021, forced entry, a zero-click iMessage exploit seen in targeted cases. So this one, I remember, they would just have to send you a message to their phone and they could get some stuff. And that was pretty scary because you didn't even have to click on a link. All they had to do was be able to send you something and they could get that. And then here again in 2025, some targeted attacks, but they have that update. It's patched in the new 26.2 update. So go ahead and update your iPhone, your iPad, anything that needs that update. Go ahead and get that going right now, and you'll be in a good spot there. Up to date anyways. And that's really all we can do, right? So all you can do is update to the latest version, and that's the best you can do. And of course, try to avoid clicking on any links and sending people your information. Avoid those scams. Now, LG has stated that they are going to be releasing a new home robot at CES 2026, which is coming up. That's just next weekend. It's January 6th through the 9th. So it's not even the weekend. What is that? I think looks like it's Tuesday through Friday. I was going to go, but I ended up going to some other events in California for YouTube this year, so I did not get on this one. When you've got wife, kids, and family, you kind of got to pick and choose and make those decisions. I am bummed now that it's coming up. I've got a little bit of FOMO that I'm going to be missing out, but I'll watch a lot of the recaps and stuff and just kind of check in and see visit it virtually, basically, to kind of get the effect there. I've never been, but I'm really excited to get there. So hopefully in 2027, I'll be able to get there. So the big question, what does this LG robot do? Now, they haven't released the entire look of it. Now, LG did release some robots over the years, and those little server robots that basically roll around and they've got little trays. So you've seen them at restaurants. I haven't seen them anywhere here in the United States, but I've seen videos of them abroad and in some other countries. And it looks like they're rolling around with like food, restaurants, things like that. Now, this one, they've only released 2 photos and some information, like a paragraph of information, maybe really just a sentence or 2. So this robot actually does have hands, and it has fingers. So 5 fingers that move like human hands, and arms. So what it sounds like, it's going to be a robot on wheels that rolls around, and then it's going to have hands. And I don't know if it's going to have a head and a body and everything else, but it's going to have hands. So it could just be a pair of hands rolling around with arms. That could be really creepy or really cool, but we'll have to check and see what is going to be happening with that robot. So if you have any information, let me know. But I've read a couple articles. There's really not much about this robot. Now, the information that they said, so LG Electronics plans to showcase the newest member of the LG CLOI robot family, the LG Cloyd humanoid robot, at CES 2026 next week in Las Vegas. The company now hasn't shown the full body of the robot yet, but describes it as humanoid in appearance, with dual 7-degree of freedom arms and 5-fingered hands. Now, the robot joins some other robots that have already been deployed in retail, restaurants, and hospitality. The D in the LG Cloyd name stands for dynamic, according to the company, but the oid suffix also suggests a humanoid kinematic for the robot. There's no indication that Cloyd will be a legged robot, and the fact that the other robots are wheeled would suggest that this one is also going to be wheeled. So some household functions. It says it's going to be able to do a wide range of indoor household tasks. Now, it's unclear which ones the robot will be able to perform at launch, but the robot's chipset will be integrated by a display, speaker, cameras, an array of sensors for expressive communication, natural voice interactions, and intelligent navigation. So that's pretty cool. We've got that coming up, so that's something to be excited about. And we'll see if it's kind of a gimmick or if it's an actual helpful robot. I don't know where we're at. If this robot could actually help, what would this robot have to do in order for you to want to get this robot? Do the dishes, vacuum, do your laundry? What would it have to do? And then another thing is, how big is this robot going to be? Not every house is going to be suitable for this big robot to be just cruising through, so you do have to have the right household for this robot. So I think that's going to be a big limitation for a lot of people. Me personally, that would be a limitation for me, because I'm not going to be able to just, have another big body in the house, especially if the robot has to have a wide base. Assuming that if it doesn't, it's going to be able to topple over. Also, how tall is it? All of these different things come into my mind with this robot on how useful it's actually going to be. So what do you think? Is this robot actually going to be good? And what would this robot have to do in order for you to actually want to get it? So, sorry, give me 1 second here, and we're going to move on here. Okay, so next, let's go ahead and move on here. So again, that's coming up, CES this week, the 6th through the 9th. We'll see what LG really puts out there. So next we have Copilot, and if you don't know what Copilot is, it's basically ChatGPT inside of Windows and does basically the same thing. It's your AI for Windows, and it's really integrated for Windows products. So if you're a Windows-based user and you use Microsoft Word or PowerPoint or Excel, it's really good at those things, but it basically has all the functionality of ChatGPT and anything else. I like it because it does come on your Windows-based computer. It's kind of built in right there, really easy to use. And I've kind of been comparing the two, and I do have the ChatGPT Premium, and I've got Copilot, the basic version that I didn't pay anything extra for. And at this point, I might actually cancel ChatGPT because Copilot is doing really well. So Windows insiders, it's a select group of people. They are seeing this new feature that helps rewrite or clean up text. Now, this is going to be handy for emails, captions, and documents, but it's, of course, not for everybody. But the cool thing about this is that it actually works within the app. So it's different than if you're just using them separately, and that's kind of how we're all using AI, right? So we have to go to ChatGPT or Copilot, get our information from there, copy, take it over to where we want it, and paste it, and it's this clunky process, and it bogs you down. Now, it's still faster than the old-fashioned way, right? But it's still this extra step, and they've kind of closed that gap there. Now, with this new update, you can actually use it inside of things like Word and Notepad and Gmail and Google-based products or Windows-based products, which is really cool because you can, for instance, open up a document and you can have it help you inside of that document so it feels like a real assistant inside of your apps and not a separate chat window. So for writing scripts, for writing documents, SOPs, tons of different use cases for this. While you're inside of the app, you can actually have it help you. While you've got your email open, you can have it help you write an email a little bit faster inside of your email instead of outside. So that's going to be a big update. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because typically what happens is the insiders will get this first, and then it will be released to everybody else. So this is kind of a peek behind the curtain, a peek into the future, what we're going to be having soon, and hopefully that will come to everybody so we can actually use AI inside of our apps, which is really going to help us do so much more. I feel the limitation right now with AI, ChatGPT, Copilot, and the going back and forth. But if I can actually open up the program and have it help me right there, that's going to be a game changer. So really for anything. But if you're, for me specifically as a content creator, I would love to be able to open up the, editing software that I make thumbnails with and say, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. Help me do it. And it has access to more powerful tools outside of what its capabilities are, right? So if it can have access to all of these different apps, it's just going to make it even more powerful. So that's a pretty cool update, and hopefully we can all be seeing that. So what's up, everybody? Thank you for joining me. We're talking a little bit of tech news here. So if you've got any comments, questions, or concerns, drop them in the chat. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are about AI. We are going to be talking about that. And really when it comes to how are you going to be safe when it comes to AI, and how are you protecting yourself right now? So let's jump into that right now. So this is kind of presented as being prepared. You need to be thinking about this. What could go wrong? How do we prevent it? Scams, hacking, misinformation, and other ways that AI, like OpenAI, is really going to impact a lot of people. And OpenAI did put this out as kind of like a position, right? So they're going to be thinking about this. I think as users, we need to be thinking about this. So what do you think about AI right now, and how are you looking at content? So when I am just looking on social media, almost every video that I come across, I'm almost automatically thinking, hey, this is AI. This is AI. Is this even real? This is AI. And it's almost ruining it for me because I'm really suspicious about things, especially if it's information about something. A lot of things that are going to be targeted first, I think, is going to be politics and health information. Those are two really big industries that I think are ripe for scams, especially when it comes to fitness. There's so many scams out there already with all of these supplements and things, snake oil things, and I think AI is really going to perpetuate that. So especially when it comes to health and things like that, I am overly cautious already, and now with AI getting better and better, I'm even more cautious. So think about how it could be used right now by quote unquote influencer that wants to sell you some kind of supplement or workout program. They can pretty much make a fake person that goes from bigger to thinner to ripped, and it can all be fake. And they're going to sell you a product. They'll say, hey, this product turned this person into this person, and they made them, 400 pounds to 180 pounds with abs and big biceps and everything else. So that is something that I am definitely going to be weary of, especially if it's too good to be true. Usually it is. And then when it comes to politics, right? So if you want to smear campaign on whoever you're running against in politics, you can create fake videos of them doing something or saying something that just isn't true. And unfortunately, when it comes to the general public, people don't fact check things already. Already there's so much misinformation with just headlines on news articles. But now if there's actually fake videos out there floating around that are, of these people saying these things, even when they didn't say them, that's just going to create so much of a mess. So for me, I'm really taking everything with a grain of salt almost when it comes to social media now. And now I have to kind of fact check and verify things from multiple sources before I really even truly believe it. So definitely a risk when it comes to AI, but also so many other benefits. So I think the benefits outweigh the cons, but definitely something to be aware of is how are we going to protect ourselves and how are we going to avoid being fooled by misinformation when it comes to AI. And hopefully there will be some type of maybe a blockchain or something that can track everything so that we can be able to find out if it truly is AI or if it's real, right? So hopefully there will be some fail-safes in place to protect us from that. So there we go. That's what I've got going on today. I don't see any comments here in the chat about any of the stuff that we talked about today. So again, just to kind of summarize, if you've got an iPhone, iOS device, so it's iPads as well, get that update installed because there were some pretty big vulnerabilities. Again, as I understand it, they were able to access and take over pretty much the entire device. So definitely get that new update installed on your iPhone, and that'll keep you protected here in the future. And then we've got CES 2026 coming up. We'll see if that new robot's actually that cool. And then Copilot Insider's got a big update with how to integrate AI into your actual apps that you're using. And again, how are we going to protect ourselves when it comes to being safe and, not getting tricked by AI. And also, I didn't say this before, but I've received videos from family members that have sent me like, oh, check out this video. This is crazy, right? They were AI. So they actually fooled a couple family members. Now, in their defense, these are just quick little videos, and it's really not that big a deal. The videos were about like an animal doing something crazy, like breaking through a fence or jumping over a fence or something, and just being like a crazy animal. Now, a lot of those are supposed to be watermarked, but the watermarks were removed. And when I was watching those videos back, it was actually blurred where that watermark was supposed to be. And I think it said Sora was the original one, but already tricking some people in the family. So anyways, hopefully that was helpful. If you like tech tutorials, home goods, things like that, feel free to check out the channel. I got lots of good tutorials on the channel and tech-related stuff, also home goods. So I am Drew. I will see you in the next one.